Hey, what's going on everybody? Jack Jones here. So I have a World of Warcraft video for you today. I've been getting back into the game and I've been spending a lot of time making gold, and I've actually found a lot of success at it, and I've been able to use that gold to buy 4 more copies of Legion. I purchased the new Hearthstone expansion pack. I'm going to be buying Overwatch when it goes on sale this weekend. And all of that is using my Battle.net balance, which I've purchased using gold, so no real money involved. So it's been really cool to just be able to pay for all my Blizzard game costs using World of Warcraft gold. And so that's what I'll be going into in depth in this video. I want to make this a really comprehensive video and show you just how you can make a lot of gold in the new raid tier coming up of Antorus. These techniques definitely work. All you need to do is go in, try it, learn from your experience, learn from your mistakes, and to keep trying. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get down to the actual gold making. So the first thing I'm going to talk about are how you can flip BOEs, and the first one we're going to talk about are level 110 BOEs. So I'm here on my level 1 baking alt, which is actually on a separate account, so this allows me to raid and play the game as I would normally while I have this on my second account, so I can check the auction house, do all the things I need to do, and then I pay for this account just through all the gold that I make using this account, so it's a really efficient way to do it. Okay, so I am bringing up my TSM, so that's just /TSM, and it gives me a nice accounting module which allows me to see everything I have sold. So let's go ahead, we'll do all time. So I've been doing this about 2 months now. You can see my highest profit sale, which I made a profit of 270,000 gold, was on the Soul Rattle Ribcage, which is a 950 Mythic Titan Forge ribcage. So you can see that 61 days ago I paid 350,000 for it, and then about 3 days later I sold it for 620,000, and this was because that was still at the early, well, not super early, but it was kind of the mid phase where most people were still in Heroic TOS, not a lot of people were in Mythic yet, and a 950 Titan Forge BIS chest, so that's BIS for LE Shamans, that's BIS for Hunter specs, so you know, that was really good at that time, so there was a lot of interest in this, and I was able to unload it for almost twice the amount. So those are the opportunities that will be available when Antorus releases. You know, if you find a max level Mythic Titan Forged item for sale for 100 or 200,000 gold, I would pick that up immediately, because those can be turned around and resold for over 1 million gold, you know, in the early stages of the expansion. And the problem though is that price will drop very quickly. As you can see now, most items on the auction house, you can have 950 items that are only, you know, 400 or 500,000 gold, just because people don't value that as much, because the next raid tier is coming out, and your normal raids are going to drop like what, 940, 945 here. So the eye level stuff devalues very quickly, but there is a lot of potential gold to be made in the beginning of the expansion for those. Okay, so next up are the level 101 twink items. If you're not familiar, people like to build twinks in Legion, level 101 specifically, because that allows you to wear all of these 840 plus BOE gear while still having crazy stat scaling. So like right now I have a level 101 Boomkin who has like 50% haste, 100% mastery, 25% leech, and he's just a monster in dungeons. I can clear giant packs in dungeons and finish dungeons in about 7 or 8 minutes, and that's really good for leveling up my other characters on my other accounts. And a lot of times people will use those twinks to sell alt runs, so they'll sell you know, like $2,000 per run, and you can get in like 10 runs per hour, so it's pretty decent money there to be made. They also use it to farm, so that's why people twink. And here I'll just show you a couple of the items that people will look for. So people look for leather items above everything else. Most people are trying to twink a demon hunter or a druid, and they also look for leech on items above everything else. So if it's a 101 item with leech, that's going to sell for the most. And let's just go through a couple. So this guy I bought for 103 or 3,000, and I sold for 57,000. I think this tooltip is wrong, because it probably wasn't a level 103. It's probably a level 101 BOE. And let's see. Here's another trinket I bought for 25,000, resold for 48,000. Let's see if I can find anything with leech on it. But Yeah, you can see, you know, a lot of my top sales here are actually 101. That's a level 101 leather chest piece. Bought that for what is that, 2 or 20? 2,000, sold it for 56,000. So you can see in this market, a lot of times people will misprice these items because they'll see a level 840 and they'll think, well, that's pretty garbage. Nobody's going to pay for 840 BOE. What they don't realize is the level 101 840 BOE that people will pay really good money for. So there's a great opportunity to make some really good money. I think this one might have leech. Nope. But see, that one's an 860 Titan Forge, so that sold for 88,000, and I bought it for 12,000. So there's just a huge opportunity here, and the good thing about level 101 twink items is that the demand for them isn't going to drop off a cliff like they will for level 110 items, right? So at the end of a raid tier, people will still be buying twink items. So you know, at the end of however long it takes for the next expansion to come out, these will still be selling. So they're a pretty safe bet to invest in. I would buy it anything for under 40% market value, especially if it has leech, especially if it is Titan Forged, and especially if it has a socket. So those are kind of what I look for. If it doesn't have leech, if it doesn't have a socket, if it's a low item level like a 835 or 840, I generally will only pay 10 to 20,000 for those types of items. I'll only pay 10 to 20% of market value. I try not to buy it. Those low level things because it just takes a while to sell. You'll see it'll take you a couple weeks to a couple months to sell some of these items, but they do eventually sell. Okay, so the next BOE item we're going to talk about are transmog items. So these are items that have no value outside of the way they look, and people do buy them. There's a lot of things in the kind of level 40 to level 80 range that just they're pretty rare because people aren't running that content very long, and a lot of people like those for the transmog. The main problem with transmog is they take forever to sell. So what I do is I don't search for them in the auction house. There's hundreds of pages of potential transmog, and it takes forever to search for, so I don't search for them in the auction house. I just, if I see them pop up a lot on the sniper, so a lot of times new players to the game, they won't have TSM installed, they won't know the value of transmog, they don't even realize that there is a thing as transmog that people buy, so they're thinking they're selling their crappy level 48 green for 50 gold, and they're happy with that. But what you know using TSM is that, hey, this green is market value at 10,000 gold. Like this protector's legs, I bought it for 100 gold, and then I sold it for 9,500. And so those opportunities are pretty abundant if you spend any decent amount of time on sniper. If you're leveling your alts, you'll definitely pick up a decent amount of transmog as well. And there's specific transmog farms you can do, which I will touch on later. But the basic idea for making money from transmog is to buy it at a really, really low price and then to resell it at market so that you can absorb. I could buy 100 different one of these Sunscale helmets, and if only one of them sell, then I've still made a profit, right? Buying them at 20 gold a piece. Same with, let's see, gloves for 500 gold, sold for 4,000. So you can see, the percentage gains on these transmog things are really, really large. These robes, bought it for 20 gold, sold it for 3,000 essentially. So the market is there. They will buy transmog, but my advice to you is to not even mess with transmog that's under 1,000 gold, because it is a pain to relist all of those all the time, and you only sell 1 or 2 a week, So, but they are worth picking up at a low price, and it's a good way for people to get started with the auction house. If you don't have a lot of gold to play with, if you don't want to risk a lot of gold, you can just sit on the sniper and watch for transmog items to come in and pick those up between 20 and 100 gold. And that's a decent strategy, but just know it's going to take a lot of patience for those to sell. You really need like a stock of 300 plus transmog items to get any kind of regular sales. So keep that in mind. All right, so let's talk about flipping pets. So pets is one of those markets that you've got to be careful with, because people can bring in pets from different servers because they're account bound, they're not character bound. So they can bring in pets from different servers and really undercut your market really quickly. And they also move pretty slowly, so you can potentially tie up a lot of capital in pets without seeing a return for weeks or months at a time. So I would only get into pets after you dominate the BOE items, after you dominate your trade materials, your flasks, your enchants, those kind of markets. Then I would look into getting into pets. but I have found decent success in them. So like this crab I bought for 100,000 gold, resold for 233,000. This Blingtron I made 72,000 gold on it. Crawdad 30,000 profit, chicken 17,000 profit. A lot of these different little pets I make decent profits on, and let me show you how I search for pets. So I just do a /battle_pets search in TSM, and then I sort it by market value, and then you see you get a big list going on here. So really there's too much to sort through. So a lot of this is just noise. So I only pay attention to things that are over 1,000 gold. So this guy's at 32% market value, 1,000 gold, but I see there's a lot of these Ironbound proto-whelps, and I don't know if it would be a good buy right now. So I try to look for markets where there's only 2 or 3 of the pets up. That tells me either the supply is really limited or the demand is high. So either one of those is pretty good. But you don't want markets where there's just a whole bunch of pets. Like this is too many auctions up right now. I would have to buy 1, 2, 3, 4 to be able to soft reset the market. So that's not a good pet to buy. So what I'm looking for is a pet that is at a decent percentage market value. Anything under 60 is pretty good in my opinion. And then I'm looking for something that doesn't have a lot of auctions up. So this guy has too many auctions up. So let's see, 2,300 Frostwolf Pup. Again, there's too many. I could buy all 4 and reset, but chances are if I bought all 4 and reset, people would put more in the market. I'd fight with them. It'd take a while to sell, so wouldn't really be worth the time or tying up that amount of capital and doing it. Dark Moon Eye. So this Dark Moon Eye might be pretty good. So I could buy, there's 3 auctions up, and it looks like if I bought those 3 auctions and reset the market, I could relist it at about 30,000 gold. And then, of course, people would come in again and undercut me, and we'd fight a little bit, drive the price down to 20,000. But that's still pretty good. If I only sold one of these at 20,000, it would pretty much cover the cost of the 3 of these, and then the other 2 selling eventually would be pure profit. That's one way to look at it. So that's what I do. I don't buy a lot of pets. I might buy 1 or 2 pets per week, just from what I find. So I don't find a lot of good deals on pets, but the ones I do find usually eventually turn out to be profitable. So that's another avenue of profit for you. Alright, so now let's talk about flipping different raid materials. This is kind of my bread and butter money maker, and this is my most steady money maker. Even though you see big numbers like the Soul Rattle Ribcage where I make almost 300,000 in one sale, that's not what I focus on the most, because those kind of deals are rare and they're few and far in between. But what you can make money on almost every single day are raid materials. So those would be things like flasks, like elixirs, like potions, like enchants. So let me just show you. Mark of the Ancient Priestess. I've sold 50 of those at 158 gold profit. Hexweave bags. I've sold 185 of those at 150 gold profit. Enchants. Look at all these flasks. I've sold 14, almost 1,500 whispered packs at 100 gold a piece, 1,500 flasks of the 7th demon at 66 gold a piece profit. And there's a bunch of potions of the old war, almost 5,000 of those potions sold. A lot of auto hammers, Imperium, 18, almost 20,000 Imperium, and you can see I've been buying them about 30 gold, selling them at 46. Of course those prices have dropped, but the profit is still there. Fellslade, Astral Glory. You can see all the different fish that you need for feasts, all the different Dreamleaf and leather, so Arcana, different herbs. So there's just a whole bunch of different raid materials. And when I say raid materials, I mean both what you make, so the end product like the flasks and the enchants, and what you use to make them, like the chaos crystals, like the herbs that you use to make the flasks. So that's what I mean when I say flip raid enchants. And essentially my method is I look for anything on the auction house that is below 75% market value, and I buy those up, and then I just resell them. Or if it's more profitable and I have the time, I'll turn them into different flasks or enchants to sell. So that's my very simple method. You really just need to watch the auction house and to get a feel for it, because there's some items that they're not going to drop below 85% market value, like bacon, like Starlight Rose. Some of those items I'll buy at 85 to 90% just because I know I can still make a profit on those. And so that's generally how it works. Let me show you kind of what my bank looks like right now. So I bought a whole bunch of Imperium when people were panic selling. And I'm going to probably prospect most of those, sell some of those when Antorus releases, use that to make a bunch of epic gems for people to put into their new gear that they're going to be getting. You can see I've been stocking up on Potions of Prolonged Power, stocking up on Auto Hammers, stocking up on Tomes of Tranquil Mind. Those are all things that raiders are going to need when Antorus, the new raid, releases. You can see I stocked up on a whole bunch of Potions of the Old War. Look at my purchase price there, an average of 85 gold. I know I can sell these for over 120 gold when Antorus comes out. Some more potions. I farmed a bunch of Spectral Grog and Coins of Many Faces whenever the Halloween event was out. So I can unload these for between 5,000 and 10,000 throughout the year. A bunch more Imperium, bunch more Starlight Rose. You know, just different random materials that I know people are going to need when the new raid comes out. So what I can do is I can reset the market when I know the demand is going to be really high, like on Tuesday, Wednesday nights, on the weekends, and then just unload all of this stuff. Look at all this Foxflower. I've picked up a lot of really cheap Foxflower recently. And that's all going to sell within about the first month of the new raid in Antorus coming out. So the next item is to use crafting professions to make money. So don't listen to the people that say there's no money to be made in crafting. They just don't know what they're doing. So the very, very basic premise of using crafting is to buy up materials on the cheap, turn them into items that are worth more, and then to sell them. So for example, I sell a lot of potions. That's probably my primary crafting profession. I use alchemy along with enchanting. So I have a macro going all day in trade chat that just says I want to buy chaos crystals at 170 gold, and right now they're going for about 220 gold on the auction house. So that's a big savings to my cost of making these enchants. So if I can get those chaos crystals at below market price, then I can put my enchants up cheaper than other people and still make a profit. So that's been really profitable for me. Similarly, buying cheaper herbs allows me to make these flasks and put them up and sell them at a profit. And what I also do is with crafting, you really need to pay attention to stack sizes. So a lot of times people will put up stacks of 20 flasks, stacks of 20 potions, but a lot of times people don't want to buy that big of a stack. They don't want to spend like 10 or 20,000 gold for a bunch of flasks when they only need 2 for the raid tonight. So putting them up in stacks of 2, 3, 4, 5 I found to be really, really beneficial. And you also need to make sure you go into your operations, and we'll talk about this later, but go into your operations and click match stack size. And what that does is it will match your auction to stacks of similar size. So a lot of times on auction house, what you'll have is a bunch of potions and flasks and whatever. People are undercutting each other. They put up stacks of 1, so the price gets driven down. But then if you put up a stack of 5, you don't want your stack of 5 price to be the same as a stack of 1, because people will pay a premium for that convenience and be able to buy 5 instead of 1 at a time. So what you will do is to click match stack size. So you will put your auction up at the lowest price of that same stack. So if you're selling stacks of 5, you're going to put your auction up at a price like 1 copper below that other person's stack of 5 rather than the stacks of 20 or the stacks of 1. So that's a really, really good way to make money with alchemy specifically. Don't listen to the people that tell you that you don't make money with alchemy. You definitely do. So crafting professions are profitable. The most profitable ones are definitely the ones that make consumables. So that means enchanting, that means alchemy, that means inscription, making your tomes and your Vantis runes. That means jewel crafting, making all the different gems that people buy. That will make you the most profit. If you have armor crafting professions, there's less profit to be made, but there's still definitely profit. Like if you take the time to go do the quest every week to go make your BOE legendary, you can sell those pretty well. I made a lot of money just from flipping these BOE legendaries, but there's definitely a lot of money also to be made from selling them. Let me show you. Yeah, there we go. You know, a bunch of vigilance, purchase, sentinels, Rethrus, you know, they all sell. So good money to be made in making the legendaries. There's also good money to be made in selling things like Vial of the Sands with alchemy. Again, I don't bother to take the time to actually craft these myself. I just buy them and resell them. But there's really good money if you want to make it yourself, take the time to make it. You can make easily your token every month if you just make a couple of like Vial of the Sands, make a couple Sky Golems with engineering. You can make that whatever steel-bound harness, that mount with blacksmithing. So those are some things to look into with your crafting professions, but I would mostly focus on making consumables. And then if you want to spend the time, I know there's people that have like 12 engineers who will make 12 Sky Golems every month. 12 with along with engineering and alchemy. Hexweave bags, people will have a whole bunch of tailors and they'll just make a whole bunch of hexweave bags every month. So those are things that you can Google and look up, and if it's something that you want to do, go ahead and do them. I don't do them just because it's a bigger time sink. I would rather spend 5 minutes, buy it on the auction house, relist it, sell it for a profit right then, than to go through the trouble of making it. But a lot of people do enjoy that style of money making because it's a pretty sure thing. You know, if you can make 12 Sky Golems every month, that you're gonna make a really decent profit, like 1.2 million guaranteed gold every month for a little bit of effort. So definitely things to look into. Okay, so now let's talk about different ways to farm gold. There's more ways than this, but I'm only going to focus on farming herbs and mining, and then also transmog farms. But there's other different ways you can farm. You can farm for leather, you can do straight gold and silk farms. There's just quite a few different farms you can do, but those are pretty easy to find through quick Google searches, so I'll just leave that to you. But the reason I'm focusing on the herb/mining farm is just because it is pretty much the most efficient farm out there for good, consistent levels of gold, and that's why I started my 5-man druid team 5-box. I'm only 1-boxing right now, but essentially this is the farm that I do with 5 druids, and we'll just go through here and do foxflowers, because foxflowers can proc the little fox that will run around and drop foxflowers, and if you have 5 different people picking these herbs, then you get a really good chance at spawning a fox on almost every single node. So this is my farm that I like to do. So it's a really simple farm. I just fly around here in a big loop in High Mountain, and I collect my herbs and I collect my mines. So I'm not going to go over the specific farm route here. You can just go ahead and Google, you know, like Foxflower farm route or Starlight Rose farm route. The things you find on Google are pretty accurate. There's no secrets out there. You basically just fly in big loops around in the zones that have the herbs or the ore that you're looking for. Alright, so I want to touch on multi-boxing again, because in Legion they changed the way herbs and different nodes work. Because before, like in vanilla, if one person could only tap one node, if somebody got to a node before you did, then you were out of luck. But in Legion, the node will stick around for about 10 seconds, so any number of people can tap the same node. So that means if you're flying around with a team of 5, you can tap each node 5 times, once on every character, so that essentially gives you a 5 times output on your characters. And I think this is a really good goal to shoot for as you're flipping things on the auction house, because I found it only took me about a month to have enough money to buy 4 more copies of Legion at $60 a piece. So I just did 4 more copies of Legion. I did refer a friend to myself, and then I leveled up my druids in a day. It only takes about 20 hours to get a team of 5 up to level 110 when you have that recruiter friend bonus going on. And so now I can farm things at 5 times the rate. And what that really means is that I only need to farm for about 5 or 6 hours with my team every month to make enough gold to buy 5 WoW tokens for that game time. So, 5 or 6 hours in a month, that's not very much time at all. And then any time I spend in addition to that is just free money for me, essentially, or pure profit rather. And then it allows me to have the freedom to play with a 5-box, which is a lot of fun a lot of times. Alright, and now we're going to touch on transmog transmog farming. So this is something that I'm not very well versed in. All I'm going to do is point you to a YouTuber named Sharkin808. He has a bunch of different transmog farm routes, and he's always updating his channel with different transmog farms. But I just want to touch on it because this is a really good way for lower level players to make money. It's a good kind of stress-free way to make money, and it's kind of fun because it's kind of like gambling, right? You're going on a run, you don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes you'll get some green BOE item that might sell for 50,000. You might get some things like a battered hilt that will sell for 20 or 30,000. So you just never really know what you're going to get. So I think that's a lot of fun. I don't really do transmog runs just because I don't think they're really worth my time, because I hate listing up a whole bunch of transmog items on the auction house. Transmog takes a long time to sell, so that's not my cup of tea, but definitely worth checking out, especially if you're lower level, especially if you like running old content, if you like just demolishing whole rooms of mobs, one-shotting everything. It's a definitely valid way to farm up gold. Alright, so now we're towards the end of this video. I just want to touch on order hall missions, which most of you are probably well aware of, but I want to touch on it anyway because this is a really good kind of passive way to make a decent amount of gold. So you can see right there, that's almost 3,000 gold in a mission, and there's just loads of these missions that you can run. So what some people do is they will have 12 accounts of level 110, so they'll get all their followers up to level 950 gear. Then they will just run gold missions and Blood of Sargeras missions on those accounts. And so what they'll do is they'll use Blood of Sargeras to buy order hall resources in order to fuel their gold missions, so that they don't have to actually play those characters and do world quests to get order hall resources. And if you do that with 12 characters, you can easily make the amount of money it takes to make a token every single month, and it's just really good, really easy passive income. And so that's another option. I personally I find it to be too tedious to manage a bunch of characters on the companion app, but if you have a lot of downtime at work, if you just have downtime or you don't mind using that app to manage all your characters, then definitely a very viable way to make to buy your token every single month. Alright, and to finish off this video, let's talk about add-ons. And the main add-on you're going to need is called Trade Skill Master TSM, and pretty much that's going to cover all your bases. Just be sure to get all the add-ons for TSM. So like TSM is add-on, and then it comes with a bunch of other add-ons like accounting, like crafting. So there's a bunch of different add-ons. I definitely recommend you get the desktop add-on as well. And what that desktop add-on will do is it will update your entire auction house values without you having to run a scan. So without that add-on, you have to scan the entire auction house to get all of the values for your items, and that can take 30 minutes or more if you're depending on your connection. So definitely get all the TSM add-ons, and let me just show you how to work it real quick. So there's a lot of functionality to TSM, and a lot of which I don't even use. So all I do is I go into groups. So you just type /TSM, right? Whoops, where am I at? /TSM, that pulls you up this panel right here. I go into groups, and then I will create a new group. So I'll call it new group. And there's a lot of tutorials for this on the internet, so I'll just cover this very quickly. And so then you can stick in that new group, whatever items that are in your bags that are not already in a group. So now these items will be affected by the operations in this group. So the only operation I mess with is auctioning, right? So there's other operations for crafting, for mailing, for shopping. I don't even bother with that stuff. I just use auctioning, and the auctioning operation will allow you to post things to the auction house and to cancel it. So pretty much all you need to do to make money starting off the bat. So you can see I have quite a few operations already. TSM will come with some preloaded operations. So let's just do the top one, and then if you want to change the options for that, you click change options. Now you're over in the operations tab, and the main options I change here are my post caps. So some things I'll post 10 of, some things I'll post 50 of, some things I'll post 1 of. So the post cap is what I'll change. Stack size is another one that you're going to really want to play around with, and remember that match stack size from earlier. Definitely want to be using match stack size for most of your different operations, and that's pretty much it. Your minimum price, your maximum price, those are different things. A lot of times you can just leave that as default. That's something that as you get more advanced, you can start messing with those formulas yourself. But starting off, that's all you need to do. Just go into groups, create a new group, and then put some items into it, and then give it a accounting or auctioning operation. And that's pretty much all you have to do. Just make sure your groups make sense, so that way later on, if you need to move something around, you can easily and quickly find it. But that's all I do with TSM right now, and that's been powerful enough for me to make just a whole bunch of gold to be able to buy all that stuff I've already bought. So it can be really overwhelming in the beginning to use TSM, so that's why I recommend just going really light. Just set up an auctioning group and just do that, and don't worry about all of the other big operations it can do, like mailing and crafting and all that stuff. Figure those out later. Don't get stuck in paralysis because you're so overwhelmed with options, right? So just set up your groups and get started right away, and then figure out all the rest of it as you go. Alright, so there you have it. I think this video should give you a pretty good base to start off of. Obviously, there's a lot more research you need to do if you're going to be successful in the Goblin game of gold making in World of Warcraft. And I really recommend that you do a lot more research, because that is the one area that's going to separate you from everybody else. The more knowledge you have in how the economy works in WoW, the more gold you're going to make, the more less gold you're going to lose, and that's really important as well, right? One of the big mantras is don't lose gold. As long as you're not losing gold, you're going to be ahead eventually. So yeah, I think that covers all the bases. Definitely feel free to ask any questions you have below. I've got all my stuff set up, ready to go for Antorus. I've got about 1 million liquid gold saved up. I've got a guild bank full of just all kinds of different materials, different potions, different flasks, different elixirs ready to go. I got a bunch of chaos crystals ready to turn into enchants. And so I really see that first 30 to 60 days of Antorus being released as a gold mine, a literal gold mine, to be able to turn that 1 million gold and all those materials into 10 or 20 million, which I will then turn into more BattleNet balance and buy more things on Hearthstone and Overwatch and these other games. So that's my plan. That's my plan of attack. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, please put them down below. I do check them pretty frequently. And again, I want to thank you for watching, and have an awesome day, guys.